SpaceX last month launched its second Starship flight, a test which saw the company make progress in development of the monster rocket. The successful test flight has propelled Starship beyond its previous achievements, setting new benchmarks for the ambitious project. Despite still being in the development phase, SpaceX has already secured a considerable number of customers, eagerly awaiting the launch of this revolutionary vehicle. Wealthy adventurers have already purchased tickets for a lunar joyride aboard the rocket. While NASA has joined forces with SpaceX to transform Starship into a lunar lander, capable of transporting astronauts to the moon's surface. Furthermore, the Pentagon has approached SpaceX with an intriguing proposition, considering the possibility of utilizing Starship for sensitive and potentially perilous missions. Additionally, Voyager Space, one of the companies involved in the development of Starlab, a commercial space station, has chosen SpaceX and specifically Starship as their preferred launch vehicle. Is Starship truly in such high demand, and what makes it the top choice for every consumer over other launch vehicles? Starship, the colossal spacecraft being built in Texas, is an awe-inspiring marvel. It can return to Earth and be reused, reducing costs significantly. It can carry 100 metric tons of cargo and passengers into space, and has a massive, 1,000 cubic meters of usable space. Scientists are exhilarated by this incredible feat. Elon Musk, the visionary behind Starship, emphasized the importance of becoming a multiplanet species, and highlighted the spacecraft's ability to carry extensive scientific instruments. The potential for exploration and scientific discovery with Starship is truly remarkable. You could get a 100-ton object to the surface of Europa, said Musk. SpaceX has already secured contracts for launching geostationary satellites using their rockets, similar to how they utilize Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. They have repeatedly expressed their desire for Starship to resemble an airliner in terms of operations and refurbishment needs. Therefore, it is not too ambitious for SpaceX in the long run. They are starting off slowly by testing Starship, with their own satellites using Starlink launchers. Eventually, they will progress to launching customer satellites and crew missions. As SpaceX gains capacity and resources, they will introduce new and more complex missions in the future. It is worth noting that Falcon 9, SpaceX's current rocket, has the highest launch cadence in the world, often launching several times per week. However, it will still take some time before we see Starship launching and carrying crew. SpaceX plans to conduct hundreds of missions before sending humans into space aboard a Starship. This will provide ample opportunities to test and refine their new Starship. The Pentagon has approached SpaceX about potentially taking over Starship for sensitive and potentially dangerous missions, as a government-owned, government-operated asset, instead of contracting the company to launch payloads. The company has been exploring its options in responding. Gary Henry, a senior advisor with SpaceX, told the audience at the Space Mobility Conference here January 30. SpaceX is already on contract for development of the Department of the Air Force's rocket cargo mission, with the goal of delivering cargo point to point through space. On the 31st, Voyager Space made an exciting announcement about their new contract and what we can expect. They emphasized that Starship SpaceX is a remarkable transportation system that is fully reusable. It is designed to transport both crew and cargo to various destinations such as Earth orbit, the Moon, Mars, and beyond. The most impressive part is that they plan to launch Starlab in just one mission, before decommissioning the International Space Station. This single launch is of utmost importance, as stated by the Voyager Space president. It cannot be underestimated how significant it is to send the entire station into orbit in one go. This approach eliminates the need for multiple launches, and perfectly aligns with their business plan. Not only will they launch the structure in one piece, but the interior will also be practically complete and fitted. They even mentioned that the launch will include a fully functional science park, eliminating the need for additional outfitting flights. This is a game changer for accessible science research and manufacturing opportunities for their customers. The decision to choose Starship becomes even clearer when considering the size of the station. It is massive, especially when you factor in payload fairings and available launch vehicles. When launched, the space station will consist of two modules, a service module for propulsion and energy, equipped with solar panels, and a habitat and laboratory module. The main habitat portion has an impressive diameter of 8 meters, which is twice the size of most ISS modules. In fact, the entire Star Lab will have half the volume of the International Space Station. This means that Starship is set to launch a station with half the internal volume of the ISS, in a single mission. Exciting times lie ahead for space exploration. We've also discovered that Voyager and Airbus have set their sights on launching Starlab as early as 2028. This indicates their belief that Starship will be fully operational and capable of supporting the launch of such a significant structure. Although they are planning for a single launch, which does come with increased risks, they remain extremely confident in their decision. Dylan Taylor, the chairman and CEO of Voyager, firmly believes that launching the entire Star Lab on Starship is the best approach to minimize risks. He points out that this eliminates the need for risky on-orbit assembly and multiple launches. It's worth noting that constructing space stations in orbit has historically required multiple trips and years of work. For instance, the International Space Station took over 40 launches to assemble and maintain. Even modern commercial space stations like Axiom Space Station are expected to be built through around 5 launches, over a span of nearly 5 years. However, thanks to their contract with Starship, Starlab could potentially become the first complete commercial space station, surpassing Axiom Station. Of course, the concern here is that if something were to go wrong during the Starship launch, all of the company's progress would be lost. Nevertheless, considering that Starship is expected to be ready for safe and confident launches in 4 years, it's quite a reasonable timeframe, especially for SpaceX. By then, regular Starship orbital launches could already be underway, and this contract would simply be another successful launch. This is likely the plan and hope of Voyager Space and its partners. Both SpaceX and the teams working on the Starlab station have been incredibly busy in preparation for their upcoming mission. SpaceX is now approaching its third Starship flight attempt, which is scheduled for late February or possibly March. During a recent media briefing, Jessica Jensen, the Vice President of Customer Operations and Integration at SpaceX, provided some insight into the company's plans. She mentioned that they were targeting to be ready in January, from a hardware readiness perspective, and that they are on track to receive their launch license in February. This is great news as it indicates that the launch is well within reach. SpaceX officials are confident about the launch license coming soon, which is a positive sign. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, also shared some positive information in January, discussing the company's plans and achievements for both the Falcon 9 and Starship. He mentioned that the last Starship flight test would have made it to orbit if it had a payload, but due to venting liquid oxygen, it resulted in a fire and explosion. However, SpaceX is confident that they have identified the issue and know how to fix it. With all this progress and information, it's clear that SpaceX is making significant strides towards their mission. That's it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Please let us know what you think in the comments section down below. Your feedback is very important to us, because it helps us make better videos for you, so thank you very much and we hope to see you again next time.